look over there.
Oh, yeah, the middle camera.
Okay. Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Damar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. Mark, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. Bob Belber, you're the general manager of the Times Union Center.
That's correct.
All right,
That's correct.
Yeah,
excellent. Welcome to the Jewish View.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you very
show.
much. Appreciate
It's great
the
to
invite.
have you
Maybe
here.
you can get me on the hockey team or something.
Rabbi Simon is very into the hockey games.
Oh, that's
You
great.
know, it's one thing because it's always obviously in the winter, we know, and Hanukkah is in the winter.
Right.
2 + 2 = 4. So many times, you know, if it's sometimes coordinated, sometimes the team goes on for 2 weeks on the road. But
Correct.
if they're there, then in one of the intermissions between the 3 periods, they let us light them in there, just a 2-minute ceremony.
Sure.
And just wish everybody a happy Hanukkah and just show everybody's
Sure.
Hanukkah to the Jewish
And then he
fans.
has Hanukkah on ice.
And hockey is such a great, it's a family,
Right.
fun event, you know, to go to the hockey games. And we're so fortunate to have this hockey team, the Albany Devils, be here for going into their 5th year of their 5-year contract.
You know, that's what I
So-
wanted to say to you know that it's interesting. I mean, baseball is strong, but basketball isn't strong. I mean, is there a reason? I mean, once we're dealing with sports, I mean, I know you do really thousands of shows, you know, in your time that your 20 years you've been in the Times Union
Well,
Center. But I mean, you know, I like basketball too, I guess.
Yeah.
And basketball didn't make it, and hockey is making it.
well, I want to quantify and clarify because I think you're suggesting basketball didn't make it as the pro team with the Patroons and,
Yes,
and
you're
thereafter
right.
the other
Excellent, yeah.
teams. And you're right, the support wasn't there for the pro teams as much as you would have liked in this market so they could retain a team. But the college basketball is just as big, if not bigger than ever. And Siena College is still averaging almost 7,000 people per game. And the
And
UL
yours at Times Union,
At
but
the
they have
Times
their
Union
own
Center.
arena, but they do.
play at the Times Union
all the
Center.
men's games are played at the Times Union
Really?
Center.
I didn't know
Yeah,
all of them. I
yeah,
didn't know.
and the women's games are played at the Arc on campus at Siena.
So you're getting 7,000 for Siena games?
We're averaging about 7,000.
That's-
There are
that's
some games that are
tremendous.
well over 10, and the Albany Siena rivalry is sometimes 12 and 13,000.
Really, that's tremendous.
And
It
what's
really
the
is.
capacity for the Times Union Center?
For basketball,
No,
would
no,
be,
generally.
17,500 seats.
17,000,
Yeah.
that's the official, that's what I
Yeah.
thought, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good. That's
It's great, and you're right. A lot of different types of programs with concerts and family shows, and
The concerts will fill it up, though?
They
Like the
do.
big rock concerts?
they do. We just had Bruce Springsteen perform, and he sold out with 16,000 people.
And you had Santana and,
And Rod Stewart
Rod
this past
Stewart.
Friday night.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
notice I wasn't
3-hour
there.
long show.
Paul McCartney's supposed to.
Paul McCartney's coming
Now,
in. We're
did
one
you-
of only 6 dates on the Paul McCartney tour.
Why did Albany get it? I mean, that's a big thing, but I'm sure it's a feather in your hat. That's why I'm even saying it. I mean,
It's the only stop in New York State.
That's
He's
correct.
not going to Madison Square Garden or anywhere else, he's just coming here.
how
Right.
did you pull that
Right.
off over here?
You
That
know,
is such a feather in your cap.
You know, I thank you for that, but I don't really want to take the credit for it because it really comes down to the artist and the artist manager's choice and decision. So you can say all the great things about Albany, and you can tell them that we have the greatest staff that will take care of every one of their needs. And you know, people think of the artist riders, and they think of the blue M&Ms and so forth. And yeah, that's part of it, but more importantly, they want to know that their experience when they come here is going to be one of the best it could ever be. And so we give them every assurance that their experience will be great. But I really want to give credit to a gentleman by the name of John States. And John States is one of the business partners that manages Paul McCartney's U.S. tour.
Mhm.
And I got to know him, and this all came about on the night of the Grammys. And I was sitting watching the live Grammy show, and Paul McCartney was actually on the TV at the time. And I was sitting next to my daughter on my couch in my family room, and I got a text from John States, from his manager. And it said, "Do you have such and such date open? I think we may want to come to Albany." After several discussions we had previously. So my daughter couldn't quite believe that I was getting a text from McCartney's manager, who was on TV as we're watching it.
Right at that time.
And he's
right,
backstage sending a text saying we're going to play Albany. And it was confirmed within the next week. And
Wow. Now,
how do you take care of people? I mean, what would be good? I mean, compared to their hotel accommodations or?
Well, we don't do the hotel accommodations. They do that on their own. But making sure that, and believe it or not, and you guys can probably appreciate this if you've ever traveled and you've gone on vacations or whatever you may be doing, food.
Mm-hmm.
Food is the most important thing.
Well, it's interesting.
You know, if they get off the bus and they're coming from another location and the breakfast is cold, or if things just don't look right and, you know, it's not properly presented, and if it's not nice, warm, quality food, it starts the day off with a totally bad start. So you
Sound
have
like
to
a
assure.
rabbi. That's what happens. How they get everybody comes into the temple over here.
Right.
It's good food. Oh, Rabbi, I want to come to service.
It's all about the food. It really is, and a lot of other things, but certainly that's where you have to start.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about the SMG. Let me start off with that. What does SMG, is it an acronym for something?
It is no longer an acronym. It used to be for Spectacor Management Group,
Spectacor.
but that was dropped back in the early 90s.
Okay.
SMG actually manages well over 230 facilities now worldwide,
Right.
which are approximately 83 arenas, many stadiums, convention centers, performing arts centers.
And they just don't use it other than 3 letters.
That's it. Just like IBM, it's just SMG.
Now, I had a company, Sigma Media Group, and it was SMG. I had a logo, I had everything, and then you guys came along with
Right.
SMG, and I was like, oh no.
Did our company block you from using it?
No.
Okay,
And I didn't block
okay.
you from using
Okay.
it because I was there first.
Yeah, I think there are other companies that have SMG as part of its name, no doubt.
But here it is in a local area,
That's,
it's SMG.
Small world for
small
you.
world.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when you say you manage, I mean, obviously I've asked you this a few times privately about, see if can you get me tickets,
Mhm.
and you're like, no, we don't do that. You got to go through the artist, you got to go through the company. So what
Right.
can you do for, either the media or to get your coverage, make the coverage happen?
Sure. So on the media side, there's always going to be opportunities for media to come in, and quite often they'll allow the first song or two to be either videotaped for TV news or photos can be taken on the first couple of songs normally. That's not always the case.
Right.
So each artist has their own restrictions and requirements. But to get you on the list of other media representatives in the area is relatively easy. We'll make sure our marketing department does that for you in the future.
Okay.
As far as buying tickets, we set it up for the management of the artists and for the artists so that everything's done through Ticketmaster. And there are sometimes pre-sales where their fan club can buy tickets in advance.
Right.
But other than that, it's pretty much going on the website through our Times Union Center official website.
Now, I remember Elliot Spitzer signed into law where he allows scalping, right? There was something about scalping tickets is legal in New York State.
I don't think that they said they were allowing scalping.
Well,
I think what they did is they eliminated the cap on how much higher than face value you could resell your ticket.
well, that's scalping.
Yes, but I don't think that they said it the way that you said
Of
it.
course not. I'm speaking plain English, not
Yeah.
the legal jargon that's
I'll
in the
be
bill. but-
I'll be the first one to say that I liked it the way it was when there was a cap on how much you could resell it for. I still very much am strongly in favor of having a location where you can buy a ticket at the face value with no service charge.
Mhm.
And that is the way we still have it to this day at the box office for the Times Union Center.
Right.
There's no service charge when you walk up, you pay the face value of the ticket. There are service charges when you go online and you buy tickets through Ticketmaster, as there are for any facility in the world, not just in the US. But
And you
I-
have those long lines outside the box office when you announce you're selling, let's say on a Monday morning, and they're lining up Sunday night.
depends
to-
on how big the artist is, but you're 100% correct. On Paul McCartney, we had people that spent the night, Saturday night and Sunday night, so that they could be first in line to be able to buy tickets at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. And they did get tremendously great seats. And to Paul McCartney's management's credit, they held X number of seats in great locations in the very close part of the stage or near the stage for the first minute that the tickets went on sale to the public. And obviously the fan club was able to get tickets in good locations, but those premium seats, they knew people would be spending the night, so they wanted to make sure they got great seats. And not all management companies do that, but
Right.
in this case, this one did.
Now, I have to, just to refresh the audience about this, it was first, the arena was first called the Knickerbocker Arena.
It was called the Knickerbocker Arena.
That's when it first opened. And then, what, several years later, it was that way for
I want to say it was approximately 1997, it changed to the Pepsi Arena.
the Pepsi, and that lasted 10 years?
It actually lasted 10 years.
Okay, and
And-
then the TU Center
Right,
took over. Okay.
right.
So through those evolutions, what, those are naming rights. So the first several years, when it was the Knickerbocker Arena, there were no naming rights. I mean, it was just the
Right.
Knickerbocker Arena to honor our heritage here in Albany and the Dutch and all that, I guess, maybe.
Well, actually, it's ironic because the name Knickerbocker Arena was as a result of a contest.
Oh,
It wasn't because of the heritage, although I understand why you would think that with
Yeah.
the Knickerbocker newspaper and various other things that are named Knickerbocker. So I understand why you would think that. But it was a Times Union newspaper contest,
Okay.
and that name won it, and that was what we had for those years in the beginning. But the revenues that didn't come in those years from the naming rights, which can be anywhere from $300,000 on up per year, those revenues make a tremendous
It
difference
did, yeah.
for the bottom line to Albany County.
And then you started making money on it after you got the naming rights. It gave it more prominence.
You think
Right.
that's what it was? Because I was going to ask that. I remember it again. I say I always tell the audience I'm 29 years old, but in any case, I remember at first. Well, there's always I know everything that everybody's a critic. Oh, what are you building this boondoggle for? No one's going to come to Albany.
They called it the
With a
white
big
elephant.
like that. Or if you would tell Paul McCartney would come to Albany, they'd laugh you in the face. I mean, 20
Right.
years or whatever it was before. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, that's why I'm asking, there is a profit there. I mean, again, it's a lot to your credit, but, the people were at the first were saying, you're building a 17,000, that's like a major league stadium or not a major league city.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I think the credit really belongs to the visionaries, the Albany County legislators, and even to Jim Coyne, the Albany County executive at the time, who built the facility large and much larger than any other secondary market had venues. Most of them were being built with 8,000 to 10,000 seats, and they built this one with 17,500 seats.
That
Had-
is a major league. I mean,
Major
I know
league.
there's NHL stadiums that are just as big as that.
It's aside from Buffalo and the facilities in New York City, there's no other facility as big as this. So we call ourselves upstate New York's premier sports and entertainment facility. But those folks from Albany County, the legislature at the time, Frank Camiso and various others, who started this whole thought pattern, and Jim Coyne was a big part of that. They made it possible for us to be able to book the Billy Joels and the Rolling Stones and the U2s, none of which would have played Albany, because if you didn't have the capacity of at least 12 to 13,000 seats, those artists would have played Atlantic City or New York City or Philadelphia or Boston, and we never would have got to play.
And so many people felt that you were going to put the Palace and Proctor's out of business when it first got built. Were you there from the very beginning?
I was not. I came in 1994.
Okay.
So I started in January of
And
1994.
when was the facility built?
It opened in 1990, in January. There were a couple of games that took place before the official
Yeah.
grand opening, which was Frank Sinatra.
Right,
And that was, I think, January 30 of 1990
right.
was the opening day, or official opening day.
That was a memorable concert.
Yeah, I wasn't there for it, even though I was in the market. I was at the time running the old Colonie Coliseum.
Well, I remember that.
And I spent 10 years there and was involved with running that facility.
Oh, I went to see, Gladys Knight and the Pips and so
Right.
many other stars. I mean, I remember there used to be a news conference at the Desmond just prior
Right.
to the performers going to the Colonie
That's
Coliseum.
correct. That's
And I
correct.
used to be there for that, news
Right.
conference. Those stars that I had a chance to interview, thank you.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of great ones, and Liberace, and I remember in 1983 when I started, Sammy Davis Jr. played there,
That's right, yeah.
and I was involved in those bookings, much like I'm involved with the bookings at the arena now. So, and that helped me a great deal, spending 10 years buying talent from the major agencies.
Mhm.
And as I grew in the business, so did the agents that I bought talent from.
That's right.
For example, Rob Light, who now is the president of Creative Artists Agency, CAA, which is one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest. He was the line agent that I used to buy acts from for the old Colonie Coliseum. And Peter Grosslight, who heads up William Morris, or William Morris Endeavor, it's called now. He heads up the agency, is the biggest guy in the agency, and he used to be a guy I'd buy talent from. So we all grew up in the business,
Yes.
and those relationships, much the same in any industry, it's all about relationships.
That's what you were saying at the Paul McCartney news conference when they asked, how did you snag this? And you said it's about relationships. It's who
Right.
you know, and you come across personable, you come across as someone likable that someone wants to gravitate towards.
Well, thank you.
And, and
But it's also
and-
all about trust.
It is, but you're a yes, I want to say this, you're a yes man, because whatever they need, you're there to say yes to get them anything that they want to make them comfortable.
That's
And-
correct, but I think they also want to hear the other side too. If, for example, if they say, do you think a ticket price of X amount of dollars,
That's, yeah.
per ticket is too high for Albany, can you let us know? So they want your
Oh,
feedback,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely, but I'm talking about the word gets out.
Mhm.
One agent talks to another agent, and if they say they had a wonderful experience dealing with Bob, he's not a schmuck, he's a wonderful guy, you could
It's
deal
a
with
family
him.
show, remember?
And you can go ahead and deal with him, and he's a mensch, he's
Yeah.
someone.
Once you
Then
ask-
I think that's the reputation, the trust, comes from what other people say about you rather than how you promote yourself also.
What
thank you. That means a lot. That's how this industry works.
Mhm.
But once you say price, and I guess, I'm kind of answering my question, but it's the bottom line, you're filling up the stadiums, but people, again, one of the complaints, I don't know why I'm just telling everybody their complaints, but the prices are so high.
Yep.
I guess if people are there, the market rules. If you have 10 people come to a concert, you say, well, I guess we ought to lower the price, but if
Yep.
they're there, I guess market is market. It is capitalistic, but the prices are really so incredibly
Well,
high.
The
Tell me
prices,
about
the
that.
prices really are determined by the artist and the artist management, and usually the promoter is involved, but more so than not, it's usually the artist management that makes a decision on the prices.
They
and
tell you what
They tell
want.
us what the prices
Yeah,
have
but
to
the
be.
Paul McCartney concert has really inexpensive seats, all the way up in Troy.
They
out in
do.
Troy,
Well,
but it's-
they're up at the top, the
Yeah.
inexpensive seats, but you're right in that I think there's seats for $49 or
Right.
$39
Is that
in
too
the
expensive?
very
Rabbi?
top.
If people are there, you know what I'm saying?
What would you like to
I
see
don't
ticket?
know, $5.
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
going.
yeah.
I'm
We
still
went
going
to-
from Chicago. Go to Wrigley Field.
But see-
$5 for a
but see,
baseball
yeah.
ticket. I'm still living in the past.
But you have to remember that the artist, if he's only going to play 6 dates in the whole country,
Right.
and he needs X amount of dollars from each date to be able to cover his costs and take out the money that he feels he needs to take out of the tour, he has to have, based on your sellable capacity, he has to have a certain ticket pricing concept. And thereafter a gross that will allow him to take out the net dollars he needs. So in our case, in order to compete with Philadelphia and Boston and so forth, those ticket prices had to be up there, and yet it sold out in 28 minutes.
That's right.
Really, that much?
Yeah.
Yeah. When people want to see something, they want to spend their money, they can find the money.
Well, that's what I say.
They can
Listen,
find
if
it,
it's full,
so-
it's full. The market's going to rule.
That's
if-
There is a demand,
You
and,
know.
and to the same extent, getting back to the other issue that you mentioned about reselling tickets,
Yeah.
there's a demand for that, believe it or not.
Yes.
Because people, once the show is sold out, there are those that either didn't get a chance to buy tickets, or they got tickets, as you said, up in the
Right.
upper level, and they would have liked to have been able to buy tickets down below, but maybe they were gone. So they go to these secondary sites and they try to get the best deals they can. There is an opportunity now with Ticketmaster where they have a secondary site right within their Ticketmaster platform. So, and I like this, and I'm endorsing it. And I'll tell you why I'm endorsing it. Because there are so many sites that sell tickets for not only our facility, but all facilities across the country, that will go on and they'll say that they have a seat location available that's XYZ row, section, et cetera. And that seat may not even exist. And they have a disclaimer somewhere that says, or comparable seats. We've had people that have bought seats on these third-party sites that were the second and third people to buy the tickets. And then they had to rebuy tickets at the box office if they were available.
I mean, it was a scam?
It was a scam on these other, again, it's not Ticketmaster, it's other sites that resell tickets. Whereas with Ticketmaster, the barcode from the original ticket is transferred to the secondary market, so that when you buy a ticket on what's called Tickets Now through Ticketmaster, you're assured that it is a legitimate seat and there's only one ticket that's being resold.
Well, if it's let's say two tickets for the same seat that's been sold, and the guy who bought it second shows up first, and it scans, and he goes to the seat, and that was the scam ticket, and the guy comes in second with, and scans it through in the entrance,
Right.
and gets to the seat and says, wait a minute,
Right.
how are you here?
So the barcode,
what do you do there?
the live barcode, that exists for that ticket that got resold, the one that is still live, so in other words, if it was resold once and then resold again, the second time would be the live code. So the one who bought it the first time wouldn't get in.
Oh, and that would be the real ticket, and he wouldn't get in.
Well, not necessarily. If they transferred the code, or if they sold the code or rights to that seat, and then still tried to get in with their old ticket, which happens sometimes,
Okay.
they wouldn't be allowed in.
So even if even if they got there first, but they bought the ticket from the third party.
Right,
They wouldn't get
but
in.
if they also resold the ticket, so
Oh.
in other words, they know that they sold that ticket, but they still tried to get in using the old one.
Even
know
if it's
what
a
I'm saying?
private, like a friend that you buy a ticket and you give it to a friend?
Well,
Is that different? Different scenario?
It's a little bit different
Okay.
because you can resell the ticket online and it basically transfers via a barcode that goes
This is
from
getting-
one person to another.
This is getting
It's pretty
above my pay
technical.
grade.
The digital and online
Yeah.
ticketing is very technical.
And as many times as you try to keep ahead, or people in the industry try to keep ahead of the
Right.
schnorrers, then they find
There
another
are,
way.
as you use the word scammers, there
Yeah.
are scammers out there for every business, and
That's
the
true.
ticketing is no different.
So let me go back to asking you about these the ticket prices, because I did for Bette Midler. I paid 2 tickets $500. That was the most I ever paid.
Right.
Okay.
I
That
still-
was the real price or was the
That
scale
was the
price?
real price.
I still remember that show like it was yesterday
Yes.
because of having to postpone the show.
Right.
Because the first time it was scheduled in April, and we had 18 inches of snow, and it was heavy snow.
Right.
And her sound and lights that were hanging from the ceiling were 135,000 pounds, and you couldn't hold the show with the snow load on the roof.
See,
So we had to actually,
Really?
You gotta
postpone
know all
the
these
show.
things.
I
You
didn't
see,
know
you gotta know all these
Right, right.
aspects to it. It's just
there's
amazing.
there's a lot to it.
There is a lot
So
to
we,
it.
as you know, we brought that show back in October of that year.
That's right.
And it was a great show.
It was wonderful.
One of the best
So-
performers.
So, I have done that, but also on the other side, when Billy Joel came early on in the infancy of the arena, I was calling and calling and calling to get press passes. And it was the day before the woman finally broke down, and his agent or whatever broke down and said, all right, I got 2 seats in the 5th row for you.
That's
Pick
great.
it up at will call.
That's
So
great.
I went there, and I got 2 seats in the 5th row, and I went up on the stage. I went right up to the stage, and I shook his hand. I mean, it was a blast.
Awesome. That's
so
great.
I've had all sorts of different experiences. So, it depends how.
The greatest thing is that you're coming to the facility and enjoying yourself.
Exactly, and that's something that's changed a lot over the years. In that you have, sometimes you have trade shows, you have booths set up for certain organizations. The food there is not kosher, but it's still something that you can, you have variety of food.
We're working on some upgrades to the food. You may be happy in the near future.
Including kosher?
We're working on that.
Oh, really? Very
It's
nice.
not done yet. There's
Okay.
there's some things that have to be done.
Well,
As you know, with the facility and structure and the cooking
Okay.
devices and everything.
Oh,
Well,
excellent.
I have to mention something else. Are you involved with the convention center being built?
We hope to be. We're not yet.
Okay.
There is an RFP that's going to be coming out
But
for
are
management.
you on that convention center advisory board or
No.
something? No? I mean,
No.
I don't know what the word is, but,
No, you're talking about the Albany Convention Center Authority.
okay.
I'm not on that board.
You're not there, okay.
I'm on the board of the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Right. You would think that you would have some connection, that they would want your input and your connection.
Well, in a perfect world, I would hope that they would want our company, because we manage over 64 convention centers in
Yeah.
the United States. We've got great assets that we can bring to the table.
Exactly.
Booking assets, bringing in a lot of events that perhaps others can't. Having said that, and I respect the fact that the state, from a transparency standpoint and so forth, they need to go out to bid, and they need to have an RFP go out, and we'll bid on it.
Okay, good.
And I'm sure others will probably bid on it too. I think ultimately, for us to be able, if we manage it, for us to be able to have the Times Union Center, the new convention center, and I think they're going to put the Empire State Plaza management out with the new convention center.
Mhm.
So if all three spaces collectively, which is over 150,000 square feet,
Right.
can be marketed and sold by one entity,
It's phenomenal.
that
It was
that will put
incredible, yeah.
Albany on the map, and
Right.
we'll be able to bring in bigger and more frequent events.
And conventions, I mean, for example, there's something called Kosher Fest, and they're down in the Meadowlands. And everyone thinks if it's not in New York City area, it doesn't. But if you have something like this here, and you have this huge mega facility, you know, and I would also urge you, if you're going to take this into consideration, to have something of a ballroom set up where you can have kosher catering for weddings, bar mitzvahs, and things like that, because there really isn't anything in this area
Right.
that really is outside of a social hall at a synagogue.
I know that's in the
So-
discussions that are going on
Well, I've been
now
pushing it,
with,
so
no,
just so
I'm
you
glad
know.
you are, because I think there's a lot of business there.
There is,
And-
there
and-
is.
And I think there's a lot of bookings that can take place if that's done. I know the architects and Duncan Stewart, who's the executive
Yes,
director
who's I've
of the
been
Convention
talking
Center
to, yeah.
Authority, and the chairman, Gavin Donahue. I know that they're looking at all of those issues as they are designing this new
Yeah,
convention
because
center.
it's easier to build it with the kosher kitchen and kosher facilities than to remodel it
Correct.
afterwards.
Correct.
All right, so let me ask you this in the last few minutes. Where did you grow up? Are you from this area? Did you go to public school, private schools? Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm the son of a fisherman.
Mhm.
I grew up in Montauk at the end of Long Island, and went to public schools. My father had a 75-foot trawler, so as a child, I was out on the water anywhere from 10 to 90 miles offshore every day,
You helped out?
and I quickly realized how I didn't want to be a fisherman
Okay. You've had
because
enough of lobster?
because the work ethic was
That's what they're
was
catching then?
Yeah, well, they.
Lobster.
well, lobster and every kind of fish you can imagine we used to catch,
In
but
Montauk, yeah.
But, it was always set up with that size boat, you would always have a couple of mates and the captain.
Right.
And, if there was a child on board, talk about child labor laws
right.
back in the day. But I remember when I was 10,
Mhm.
it became one mate and myself and the captain. And then when I was 14 or so, it was me and the captain. And he's driving the boat, so who do you think was doing all the work?
Yeah, the youngin. So
Yeah.
you came up here, you moved up here with your folks, or you just moved up here
I
for a
actually,
job?
I
or-
actually moved out west first.
Oh, I see.
And I went out and spent some time in Bakersfield. Well, I started in Colorado Springs, got to Bakersfield, California, went to Santa Rosa, California, and then I spent 3 years in Salt Lake City.
Oh,
And that was all in the advertising agency
Mhm.
world. And then came back and moved back to Albany. This would have been in 1983.
and you're married and have how many kids?
I'm married and I have 5 children.
5 children.
I have 3 boys and a grandson that's 2 years old,
Beautiful, beautiful.
and 2 daughters.
How old are you? You don't look old enough to have a grandson.
Well,
I'm,
if I could be 29, then maybe you'll be 29.
I'm 56,
Okay,
So you're
wow.
doing well.
Yeah.
All right. You're doing
and
great.
I got remarried 20 years ago.
Okay.
Had my 20th anniversary yesterday,
Mazel tov.
and couldn't be more happy. I married my best friend.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. You learn from the first time. You
Yes,
do it
I
better
learned from the
second.
first time.
Well, keep going strong.
Yeah, I know.
Thank
You're
you.
doing well. We're out of time, but Bobby,
Thank
you
you.
listen, you've been with tremendous success, not only for your life, which I'm happy for you, but you're helping out the entire Capital District just
Thank
after
you.
so much good entertainment, not good, it's A-plus
Mhm.
entertainment,
Thank you.
especially for Albany, I mean, we're not New York City. So wish you the best and continue with great success and like Mark says, convention centers and more, and you should even have the greatest success with good health.
Thank you
All the
so
best.
much. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
that.